we just bought a 100-year-old home that we're renovating, and Somersault is headquartered in St. Louis, Missouri. So that's where we are.
Well, fantastic. All right, well, I'll let you take it away from here, Kristen. Have a great conversation, ladies.
Awesome, thank you. Hi, Reshma. I'm so excited to finally see you. It's been a very long time.
I know we've been trying to get this scheduled for a while, so thank you for being patient and exciting to share some insights.
Not at all. I'm just so excited to have you here and talk about Somersault. I feel like I couldn't walk a block without seeing all of these ads this summer. So really pumped to get into it. What I'd love to do is just start talking about how Somersault really came to life, specifically around the fit of the swimsuits. I know body positivity recently has become a very mainstream buzzword, but from the very beginning, it was really important to you and to Lori to create swimsuits that fit a multitude of bodies. So can you just talk to us more about how Somersault was created and really kind of ahead of the curve?
I'd love to. Before we get started, I was thinking I would share our Everybody's a Somersault Body campaign video.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
The conversation, because it's so appropriate to the question you just asked. So I'm going to pull that up right here and go ahead and share my screen. It should work, hopefully, and then we'll get into it.
Great.
I love you like la 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 la. Everybody is a somersault body.
I get a lot of my confidence from being the funniest person that I know. When I feel good, I look good.
My body can give life.
My body has designer skin.
My body is badass.
Everybody
is a somersault body.
I love you like la la la.
Amazing.
Thank you. That really sets the stage for your conversation. And so just going back to how Somersault came to be, you know, my co-founder Lori and I always say that both of our careers led us to this exact moment. Lori was designing and manufacturing made to order swimwear, and other garments, which is really exciting, through body scanning. So she had scanned over 10,000 women and gathered 1.5 million measurements and essentially made a swimsuit for each of those women. So had that one-to-one feedback loop to really create swimwear for all women, as opposed to how swimwear has traditionally been created, is with a fit model or sending a sketch to China and hoping that the product actually materializes the way the designer had in mind. However, we use real data to create swimwear that works for all women. And so, you know, Lori and I met for lunch at Chipotle. Very exciting. You know, we always laugh because it was not kind of intended to be a life-defining lunch, but it ended up being that way. So yeah, hey Chipotle, if you're listening, a collab is on the horizon. But we met at Chipotle in June of 16 and talked about kind of the state of retail and what was happening in wholesale. And we've all seen that completely accelerate during COVID. And the consumer wants brands that she can really feel connected to, as opposed to a disconnected experience. And so Lori and I just talked about the state of the industry. She went away from that meeting and wrote the initial business plan for Somersault, unbeknownst to me. I ran an agency at the time, and she reached out to hire my agency. And like all of us in our late 20s, early 30s, I was really thinking about what my next move was. So actually, Lori loves to share this part, declined her business. And then serendipitously for us, we ran into each other in New York, and Lori shared with me what is the incredible strategy for what is now Somersault. And I looked at her and said, Lori, what do you think about a co-founder? And that's really the start of our journey. And as you mentioned, inclusivity is at the very foundation of who we are. We both come from two very different worlds. Essentially, I grew up in Mumbai, India, Lori here in the US, in the Midwest, but also incredibly global perspectives that we both bring to our brand. And so just by nature, you know, inclusivity and thoughtfulness was at the foundation of our brand. And so you're absolutely right. We see that as a trend moving forward, but for us, it's really authentic to who we are. And we believe that the customer can spot kind of the performative inclusivity versus kind of true thoughtfulness. And are we perfect? Absolutely not. Do we admit it to that To our customer, absolutely. I think it's really difficult to, in this environment, say you're all the things. We try very, very hard. We take feedback from our customer. We have dialogue with her. And she is actually at the foundation of everything we do, whether that's marketing or product development. And so she is our inspiration. So definitely inclusivity is at the foundation of our brand. And the impetus for starting Somersault to kind of reject kind of the traditional way in which swimwear had been marketed for generations and created, honestly.
Absolutely. That's such a funny story, and I can't believe you turned her down. So I'm sure you're glad now that you met Izzy.
Yes, it was. We were meant to be co-founders, so it all worked out.
So I want to back up a little bit because you mentioned COVID. So obviously, it impacted everyone, but it had a very large impact on brands, and marketing is multifaceted. So especially when we were looking at things like vacations, plans were canceled, people weren't making those purchases anymore. And more women were buying swimsuits, were buying sweatsuits than swimsuits. So I just love to hear what did you do to pivot, and how did COVID affect you?
Yeah, of course, like all brands, it was an interesting time to navigate, but we really believed in talking to our customer in a way that she wanted to be spoken to. We always say we want to meet her where she is. And that does not just mean where she's shopping, whether that's in a store or digitally. That does not mean actually physically, is she in St. Louis, Missouri or Germany or anywhere else? It also means emotionally, what does she need at that time? And so when COVID struck, we kind of surveyed what everyone was doing. And essentially, for the most part, everyone was sharing long letters. Hey, this is how we're dealing with it. We know it's a difficult time. We're all figuring it out as we go. And nothing wrong with that. But in true Somersault fashion, we wanted to be there for our customers. So we actually launched a text-based support hotline using our customer happiness team called the Joycast, which allowed us to share snippets of good news in the darkest of times. So we wanted to be there for her, not from a consumer brand perspective, but as a friend. And she could text our hotline and we would send her pieces of good news, including Italians singing from rooftops to kind of get through quarantine, to penguins walking through a zoo because there was no one there. It was all about finding silver linings and going back to what makes our brand really special, which is inspiring a sense of joy. And of course, we have supply chain at warp speed, and now it looks even more brilliant, but we had already launched pajamas and loungewear and other items. And so we were able to provide that for her. And honestly, she explored incredibly in her swimwear over the summer. So summer was actually exceptionally wonderful for us because swimwear was a way in which she could explore the world and still be safe, whether that was the lake or whether that was her backyard pool or whether that was her beach. So we were there to support her, whatever she chose to do in a safe way, whether that was communicate with our customer happiness team because her wedding got canceled and she was sad and needed a pick-me-up, or her swimsuit was the light that she could see in a very interesting time to be able to have a sense of fun and joy during the summer. So it was actually just an incredible experience to get to know our customer even more intimately and for her to get to know our values.
That's amazing. And you guys continue to go above and beyond as a brand, which it just brings me to my next question. So with not only COVID, but the paradigm shift that happened, diversity, equity, and inclusion, they all became a top priority over these past, year and a half. So a lot of prominent brands just now started to include plus size women in their advertising. But Somersault really went full speed ahead, as you just showed us with this video. And you included women like Elon Musk's mother, May, who looks fantastic. Yes. There was an Olympian, Chelsea Werner, the Special Olympian. So many incredible, amazing women. You covered the gamut. So can you just talk about how you leverage those diverse celebrities, those influencers to drive that authentic engagements?
Well, it's really at the foundation of who we are. And so for us, it's about leveraging our team to tell us which women inspire them in our community and our customer base. And we launched this campaign actually originally in 2019. So again, this is not new to Somersault. This is just bigger in 2021, if you will. And for us, it was about finding women that inspired us and for all of us to see ourselves reflected in these women, whether that's because I'm an Indian woman and I've never seen an Indian woman in swimwear, or whether that's looking at someone and going, oh, she's an artist like me, or she's a teacher like me, or she's a gymnast like me. It was really about our consumers seeing themselves reflected in our incredible community of women And that's really how it came to be. It was all about showcasing our swimwear on an incredibly diverse group of women, but also women who intellectually inspired our community. So we always push for, of course, racial diversity, size diversity, but also intellectual diversity. How can we inspire the next generation to be joyful and dive in wherever life might lead? And we have gotten thousands and thousands of messages. And the most special ones are moms sharing their kids with our collateral, you know, cutting women out, pasting them in their closets, saying, oh my gosh, there's finally someone like me. I can see myself. A close friend shared with me that she saw our campaign when she's having really interesting conversations with her daughter about body image, and was able to share such an incredible group of women and say, you know, everyone's different and beautiful. Either way, you know, just because you're different doesn't mean you're beautiful. And so we love that the campaign not only sparked incredible conversation, but inspires the next generation. And also every one of those women made our swimwear look exceptionally fantastic. So it all worked, all in all.
Absolutely, they rocked it. It's an amazing campaign. And speaking of that campaign, you really covered the gamut marketing wise. So can you just talk a little bit specifically about the influencer marketing piece and what ways you define success there?
So for us, it's really about, again, authentic connection, you know, so all the women in our campaign and many of the women we work with from an influencer perspective, we've worked with for years, or we've DM'd before, or we've slid into their DMs and we've been fans, you know, either way. For example, we have an amazing collaboration with the Home Edit, which you can still get. We essentially slid into Clea and Joanna's DMs, and they organically were buying side strokes themselves and posting about it. And it was incredibly, again, true to who we are, which is we partner with women who really are an embodiment of our brand. And that is not one-dimensional. She could be the cool girl in Brooklyn versus the mom in Oklahoma City. And she really is varied and amazing. And so that's really how we approach influencer marketing, is really authentic, true to who we are, and thinking about partnerships where it makes sense. I think May is such an incredible example. She's such a powerhouse and just phenomenal, and as incredible as you think she is when you see her, she's that incredible in person, and maybe even more. But she continues to wear our products organically, loves our pajamas, really enjoys the brand, is so supportive, like DMs us all the time, like, oh my gosh, love it. And so it's really about that authentic connection. And that's where we find influencer marketing really works, is when it's truly authentic to the brand. Someone is wearing things that they would really wear in their real lives. And it's not just to get the swipe ups or, or the conversion.
Awesome. Absolutely. Speaking of that though, so TikTok has exploded.
Yes.
Shameless plug. We recently became a TikTok measurement partner, if my bosses want to. So through our partnership, we've learned a whole lot, specifically how TikTok is disrupting this marketing funnel. There's that hashtag TikTok made me buy it. A ton of people are using this now as a way to purchase products. So with TikTok rolling out these new features, live, soon there's going to be shopping, and knowing that clothing is really one of the top purchasers, the top pieces of content and things that people are consuming. I'm interested if you foresee continued growth on TikTok and what your plan is going forward for Cyber Monday and the holiday season.
Well, let me just say, I spend way too much time on TikTok. I hate to admit it. I'm 36 years old, and I think I'm like, TikTok thinks I'm like 17 or 18 in the way in which I consume the content. And so it's really incredible to see actually a new platform emerge. We're always all thinking about, sometimes it's too much from a marketing perspective. You're like, oh my God, there's a new platform. But it's always so exciting when one emerges as a winner and you can concentrate your efforts through those kind of critical platforms, whether that's Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, TikTok, as opposed to kind of trying everything in between. And TikTok will continue to be a focus for us. We're really excited. I think I'm really inspired by brands that have a true and fun tone of voice. I think the Washington Post does an incredible job on TikTok. Ryanair, surprisingly, does an amazing job on TikTok. So they've really been able to establish a true tone of voice. And I think brands are figuring out where they fit in that spectrum. And for us at SUMMERSALT, it's about constant experimentation. I think brands have been too precious previously, where they need to appear in only one way and one way only. And what happens then is that you kind of miss out on opportunity. And so for us, it's about staying true to Somersault, but experimenting on how the TikTok community wants to interact with Somersault. And we're really excited to continue to explore that.
Do you think Somersault would ever come up with like their own challenge or hashtag to?
Oh my gosh, nothing is ever off the table. So it's really fun.
Awesome. I'll look forward to that. Speaking of people on TikTok, and I know we're both millennials, but millennial and Gen Zers really are more eco-conscious, and it affects how we make purchases. So while Gen Z is often lauded as the more environmentally conscious generation, thanks to our mature spending power, it's actually us millennials that are likely to have been changing the way that we shop and our different behaviors, because of climate change, because of things like fast fashion. So I know that's something that affects you, and from the very start, Somersault was also had a focus on. So can you just talk about how you educate your consumer on social responsibility and sustainability in the fashion industry?
Oh, absolutely. Again, this goes back to who we are. I drive an electric car. I try to do all the things. I don't eat meat. I try to do all the things I personally can. However, when we were launching Somersault, we believe that being eco-friendly and sustainable is table stakes nowadays if you're going to build the next brands of the future, essentially. And so again, we have a very honest conversation with our customer. We are authentic to who we are. Are we perfect? Absolutely not. But it's amazing. Every one of our items is either made out of recycled or eco-friendly materials. Our swimwear is made from recycled fishing nets and nylon carpets. So it's just really amazing to kind of continue to enforce sustainability where we can and continue to grow and educate our customer along the way. And when it comes to social good and social change, we're so proud of our team. We donated over $600,000 worth of face coverings to our St. Louis community. So from the Ferguson School District to, the St. Louis Zoo, which is incredible for their staff, and it's a not-for-profit. So we really make sure that we're making an impact both on the larger scale as well as in our local community. We also donated $100,000 to Color of Change and Forward Through Ferguson Together. And so we're continuing to make an impact where it matters. But again, doing that in a way that's truly authentic to us and continuing to grow and learn. And oftentimes we're here to ask those thoughtful questions. Can we make this piece out of recycled packaging? Can we make this collateral from FSC certified paper? What does that look like? And it's amazing how many vendors tell us, oh, no one's ever asked me that. And it's just really interesting to continue. And I encourage all brands to just keep asking the questions. And perfectionism isn't the goal. The goal is to move forward together. And that's what we find is working for us, and being really honest with our consumer in what we can and cannot do is just a beautiful way to exist.
I love that. I actually, when I was looking at your website, I saw that you have the little blue ADA compliant button now, which I just read this article about. So it seems like you guys are, Somersault's just constantly ahead of the curve, ahead of everyone, leading the pack on figuring out how to include everyone, but also how to be eco-friendly, because we all share one planet. So I just really love that whole mission that you guys have. And it feels like you are leading the pack where other more prominent brands that maybe have been around a little bit longer are sort of falling behind, which is an incredible thing to see.
Thank you. I mean, honestly, when you think about the next 10 years and the brands that will define the next 10 years, we're here to kind of, lead the charge and create something that's unique, create a unique conversation with the customer and learn as we go. Again, we're not trying to be kind of holier than thou. We're not trying to be perfect. We're just trying to do the things that make sense. And what I just absolutely love is that those things are not mutually exclusive from growing a very incredible business.
That's awesome. I mean, if you're not going to toot your horn, I will for everybody. It's an amazing company, and I think it's just so wonderful. I love it. Last time I saw you, you were wearing, it was like a wrap skirt. I think it was the beach to brunch. You had said,
good memory.
You pulled it off the rack. Well, I only remember because I think like the whole, when you got up to speak, everybody was like, where'd she get her skirt from? Where'd she get her skirt from? And you said, you were like, it's not out yet, but it'll be on my website. So I was like hawking the website, pressing refresh, like, when is it coming out? So it was awesome. So selfishly, Can you give us maybe a little bit of sneak peek? Is there anything on the horizon that's exciting for
Oh
Somersault?
my gosh, there's so many things coming. So the biggest thing is that we've launched incredible collaborations this year with the Home Edit Rifle Paper Company. Carly Cushney is an amazing designer that we worked with on something called Collection by Somersault. And so for us, it's really about creating things that are unique for our customer, that are a new experience. And so lots and lots of exciting prints launching in the month of July and August. And then Q4 is very exciting for us. We had amazing loungewear sets and cashmere sets that people loved, and more and unique things to expect in Q4. So make sure Somersault is on your shopping list for yourself and the ones you loved, because there's going to be plenty to get, and doing it in a very thoughtful way.
Awesome. Awesome. I love it. A little teaser there, not giving me too much, but just enough to get me interested. I love it. Before we sort of open it up, if anybody has any questions, feel free. But before I go to any of those questions, I love your story, and I love the background of your story. When you and Lori were going through it, I know that it was really hard to get these investors, especially when you're pitching to a lot of Midwestern men about women's swimwear. Like, what do they know about it really? So you fought hard to get from where you are to now, and especially being a woman, not being from the US originally, you had so many things stacked against you. So can you give us advice, maybe me advice, that over the course of your career, maybe at the start of the career, you would have given your younger self about overcoming adversity personally, professionally?
Oh, wow, that's such a good question. Well, I want to really reiterate that 3% of venture capital dollars go to women. And then most of that goes to the coast. So if you're raising money from a non-coastal city and you're a woman, and that actually declined during 2020 due to the pandemic, you do have the odds stacked against you. But we're so excited to have so many wonderful investors, including incredible men who support what we do and believe in what we do. And so really it's about, taking people's feedback in one ear and sometimes completely out the other, because they don't really know. I'm a little bit in the Steve Jobs camp there in terms of, hearing what people have to say. But one of the things that I always think about is, how do you think about a theme for your year? So I've done this a lot, just that's a good reminder. I haven't done one for this year, but I usually do a theme for the year, which allows me to focus all my decisions around that theme. So the grass is greener where you water it was my theme one year. So every time I was stressed, frustrated, something wasn't moving, or I was not achieving what I wanted to, I would take a step back and go, oh my gosh, I'm so distracted by all these things. And if this is a priority for me, the grass is greener where you water it. And so then it was really easy to step off some boards when it came to not-for-profits, or say no to dinners with friends, or, do the things that needed to be done so that my focus could be on one thing. Another year I had kind of a focus that was ask and you shall receive, because as women, we tend to not ask for what we want and hope that someone will recognize our hard work and our talents. And I was kind of over it. So that year I essentially asked for everything I possibly wanted, even though it was crazy. And that didn't just apply to work, that applied to an upgrade at a hotel, or an upgrade at a flight, or anything in between, or a discount at a large store, which, whatever you want, and I realized that how many of us don't ask for what we want. And so each year I like to think about a theme that helps guide that year. And so those are two that stand out to me.
I love that. That's so interesting. So the ask and you shall receive. What I'm interested to know is, have you kept that in play? Because I definitely fall into that camp where I'm like, oh no, I don't want to make waves. It's fine. I'll just take it. It's whatever.
Well, after you do a particular theme for a year, it's almost like it's programmed in you, right? To just go ahead and ask for it. Or once you do the grass is greener where you water it, it's kind of automatically programmed in you, and to be able to cut out the clutter. And so, repetition and habit really helps. So when you make it a theme, that it really gets kind of embedded, and you can do that in the future.
That's wonderful. Sort of jumping off of that, I'm also interested to know morning routine. So
oh my
talk to me about what you do.
We have 2 new puppies. They
I know.
5 months old. And so the morning routine consists of getting them up and out the door and on a walk. So we live by a beautiful park. I have to plug Forest Park in St. Louis. It is one of the largest city parks in the country and has the most incredible cultural institutes. And so we live right by the park. So we're in the park every single morning with the dogs. And really it's about that family time with the pups early in the morning, and then just getting right to work, and lots of meetings back to back. And so
are you working from home, or
we are all working from home at the moment, but hope to be able to be together in some capacity in the fall.
How's that affected your leadership with COVID and your team? Like, how have you, so we've seen how you've done it with consumers, and you created that hotline, creating joy, and so many brands could take a page out of that book of actually creating joy and looking at consumers, not just as consumers, but as real people. So
Yeah.
how did you do that with your own crew of workers?
Honestly, our team is exceptional. They are just fantastic. And we were already kind of set up to be like remote in a sense, because we were already on Zoom, we were already on Slack, we were already on Asana. So we were just so technically, I guess, ready to be able to do this. So essentially it was a not a crazy transition, and our team has just been so exceptionally on it through this experience. We do have lots of cats, babies, dogs sometimes join our calls, and we absolutely love it. That's life. And, you know, honestly, sometimes we've gotten better at things than we were in person. And so like clockwork, everyone gets a treat for their birthdays and anniversaries at SUMMERSALT, and we celebrate the victories, and we're there to support people, whether they have a family member going through COVID or they themselves have gone through COVID. And so I think honestly, you know, when you go through something interesting and crazy together, you have an appreciation for each other even more, whether that's an employer for incredible employees or employees for an employer that's supportive of them. And so that's really how we've dealt with it. And honestly, exceptionally grateful and amazed and in awe of our team.
Are any of them watching today? Because man, you just plugged them.
I don't know. I wish they were. I think everyone's busy working. We have lots to get done.
There you go. So I know that a lot of your products, majority of your products are made here in the USA. Was there any?
Not. We make our products across the world, all across Southeast Asia, South Asia, and everywhere in between.
Was there any type of issue during COVID as far as like getting manufacturing things back and forth? I know there was a huge issue.
Well, of course, there's so much disruption in the supply chain. This is actually one of our made in St. Louis sweaters, actually, speaking of.
Very nice.
It's awesome. They're trying to bring incredible kind of manufacturing back to St. Louis, and we partnered to create amazing cotton sweaters in case anyone wants them. So we really partner with incredible factories around the world. And of course, there's supply chain disruption. It's been wild for any business to navigate, but we truly have an exceptional team, and we have exceptional partners. You know, we never left a single partner in the lurch during this difficult time. And so we're in it together. If we do well, they do well. If they survive, we have great partners to lean on. And so that's really how we navigated the pandemic from a vendor side as well. We really think thoughtfully about our consumers, our vendors, and our team. And that's at the foundation of what we do.
I hate this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Yes.
In terms of the company, in the next 5 years, where do you see it going?
Oh my gosh, the sky's the limit, really. What SUMMERSALT can do is only limited by your imagination and ours. And so for us, we really want to spread joy. Swimwear was a wedge into her wardrobe, and we continue to fill out her wardrobe with incredible, our intimates are fantastic for all the women on this call, loungewear, activewear, and we just want to inspire joy. And so our hope is that every woman in the United States, as well as the world, has something from SUMMERSALT with her, and we continue to inspire the next generation of women to dive into life wherever that may lead.
I love it. Dive into life. It's wonderful. All right, last question. It'll be a fun one. And you're a very busy co-founder, so I imagine you might not even be able to answer this, but do you have a show recently that you've binge watched or? series?
Oh my gosh, it's I used to watch a lot more TV. I also used to read a lot more, and I don't really anymore because there's so much going on. But I have to admit, I started Gilmore Girls right from the beginning to watch while I worked, and that's been really nice. And I'm watching My Unorthodox Life on Netflix right now.
Just
And of
saw
course,
this
discovered the family through TikTok, speaking of. And so, again, it sometimes takes me like a whole week to get through one episode because I watch it in 5-minute increments. But that's the way life is. Work and puppies. That's pretty much what it is right now.
I gotta say, because I follow you on Instagram and I saw that you had not one but 2 puppies, and I was like, wow, they're playing man to man right now.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Yesterday I was like, should we add a third? My husband is like, you're absolutely crazy. And I think that's how people feel about children, but I would have like 50 dogs if I could, but we're good at 2 right now.
Two is enough right now.
2 is good. Don't want to be outnumbered.
Exactly. You want to just man to man for the moment.
Exactly.
I've got some questions right here. So the first one is, what can heritage brands learn from newer digital first brands when it comes to authentically marketing to Gen Z? Good question.
I mean, that's a great question, but I think it's also going back to authentically what makes the brand special and the heritage brand special. I think Gen Z can sniff out, I can't curse, anywhere.
All right.
Bullshit anywhere. And so
there you go.
It's really about heritage brands focusing on what makes them unique and authentically marketing to who they are. I think when heritage brands try to be something they're not, that's when people can sniff that out. And it doesn't mean that you have to go back to things that didn't work. It just means thinking about marketing in a fresh new way that's truly authentic to who you are. And I think that's just much, much more thoughtful than trying to do something because other people are doing it or it's trendy. That's kind of my 2 cents on that matter.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer. I think a lot of brands are definitely seeing that too, that the more real they are, the better engagements and the better return they get.
And I think it's interesting to think about what brands like Coach have done. Really, they went back to what made Coach special, which was handcrafted leather and beautiful product. And they're seeing kind of the gains in going back to who they are, but still being a modern version of themselves.
So funny, because I was just watching this about Coach. And they kind of took a dip there. They took a decline. I know it was like all the rage when I was in high school. Everybody had to have a Coach bag. Yeah. And then it seemed kind of like it just fell off by the wayside. And then they had a really amazing TikTok with one of their quilted bags. And it just like flew off because they're talking about how content creators are doing things simultaneous now. You're creating content, but you're also selling and making brand awareness all at the same time and driving those conversions. So it's such an interesting beast, TikTok, but it's really helpful, especially with brands like legacy brands like Coach. All right, another question here. So did you have a professional mentor early on in your career, and how did that relationship impact your journey?
I would not say I've had a specific professional mentor, but I really look to kind of my family. We have very strong women, and each of the women have done remarkable things. My grandmother was, a Bollywood actress in a time where that was not considered a good profession. She really changed the way in which women were perceived in cinema, and then went on to be a producer and launched the careers of many of her children. And so even, in a traditional country multiple years ago, my grandmother was really paving the way for how women were perceived and what entrepreneurship looked like. And so for me, I've just had the most incredible built-in kind of women to look up to from my grandmother and my mother. And I just hope to follow in their footsteps.
That's amazing. I did not know that. So fun fact about you, Hollywood actress. Was that not something you were interested in? You're like, no, not for me.
No way.
No, I'm good. I mean, but truly it's pretty incredible and pretty amazing to see that you have such a matriarchal family, and it's clearly trickled down to you to now create these swimsuits. Absolutely. I love the tagline, for women by women.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, we still have a few minutes left. I don't know if Chris is going to pop on, but we can just chit chat. Those are all the questions that I have for you. Do you have any questions for us or any?
No, it's so fun to have this conversation. And I think I'm really excited to see what brands continue to do. as we evolve and we all learn about a very different world than we were in 2 years ago and navigate the world thoughtfully. So excited about the future and optimistic about the change we can create.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again. I really, really appreciate you taking the time. I know how busy you all are, and I'm excited to see what's rolling out in Q4. So I'll continue to refresh all the time.
Sign up for emails and texts and all the good things. And thank you so much for having me.
Will do.
Thanks,
Thank
Kristen.
you.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. Right. Wait, before you go, I have a question for you. So
Yes.
I absolutely loved your video. So cool. Big fan of the Musk family. So I was like, wow, that's awesome. First of all, I have two questions. So first of all, this one, how did you guys get named Musk?
I mean, again, ask and you shall receive. But we
simple, right?
reached out and she loved what we were doing and was, excited and all in from day one.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So the other question, which is probably more holistic, again, going back to the video, it was so cool and so ahead of its time. You now see, I mean, I'm sure, especially you being in the industry, I just saw the new Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue covers. I saw the change that happened at Victoria's Secret. How prophetic do you guys feel, or how validated do you guys feel having kind of set this trend years ago and finally seeing people kind of fall in line?
Well, it's amazing because it's really about collectively, again, making sure women feel inspired, happy, and joyful. And anything the world can do to get us all there is incredible. But it's always nice to know that we started something and a revolution really in an industry that has not been,